The Dershow.
The original version of the 14th Amendment just said anyone born in the United States would be a citizen. But then a few words were added, and subject to its jurisdiction, to the jurisdiction of the United States. Why was that put in? I think we can't be sure, absolutely. You never can discern the individual intentions of every one of the framers of any law, or certainly an almost 200-year-old constitutional amendment. But the most logical and historically supported reason probably had to do with the status of Native Americans. Native Americans were not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. The Navajos were a separate nation. They had their own laws. They couldn't be drafted. They couldn't commit treason against the United States. They were born in Arizona, in the part, but they weren't born in the United States. So some were born maybe outside of the reservations, but many were born in the reservations, which were separate nations. So because of that, you didn't want to impose citizenship or even permit citizenship necessarily on Native Americans. Subsequently, of course, all Native Americans were entitled to citizenships and became citizens. And now that subject to the jurisdiction seems a little bit anachronistic, but it's in the Constitution. I have a cartoon in my in my office in New York. It has the framers, with their wigs standing around drafting the Constitution. And one of them says to the other, why don't we make the language a little squiggly here so we'll create problems for the people in the future? And they have. That's what the Constitution is full of, squiggly language and difficult language to understand. We've debated on this show over and over again what the Second Amendment means. Why did it need a preliminary subject of, the right of the people to be secure? That against tyranny, and the amendment is badly written, and it gives rise to debate, and the debate often takes on a partisan edge. But both parts of the amendment have to be considered. You can't just consider the words of an amendment and eliminate half of them, even if they become anachronistic. And that's the same thing true with the 14th Amendment and the provision about the subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So there's going to be debates, and the president issued an order, an executive order. Executive orders are only last as long as the presidency lasts, and can be revoked upon the next presidency. But we'll see what happens. It's already been challenged in court, I think in 2 courts, and they both said, no, it's unconstitutional. One of the issues, of course, in the case is standing. Who is standing to challenge a statement by the president that says birthright citizenship is not going to be allowed? Anybody who's been denied citizenship who was born here would have standing. Clearly, but do attorney generals of states have standing? Well, that's a question that the Supreme Court will probably eventually have to decide.